Doors were left open that no one remembered opening. Footprints in the snow came from the forest, but none returned. Andreas, his face nearly split in half. His wife, Cecilia, her head crushed in. Her eyes were frozen open. What exactly happened between dusk and midnight on March 31st has never been truly understood. So let's know the truth. Hey everyone, welcome back to WorlDot. I've got a story for you today that will stick with you. This one is deeply unsettling and pretty chilling. It's the story of Hinterkaifeck murders.
So, let's dive into it.
It was late March 1922. Snow still lay in patches across the cold Bavarian farmland. A chill lingered in the wind that cut across the fields. Tucked between the trees, almost hidden from view, sat the isolated Hinterkaifeck farm. The silence around it was unsettling. Nothing stirred. No smoke from the chimney. No footsteps in the snow. But inside the walls of that farmhouse, something terrifying had already taken root. The Gruber family lived there. Andreas, an old man with a reputation for cruelty, and his wife, Cecilia. Their widowed daughter, Victoria, also stayed with them, along with her two young children, 7-year-old Cecilia and baby Joseph. They had just hired a new maid, Maria Baumgartner, who arrived on the farm only hours before everything descended into blood and silence. Strange things had been happening for days. Andreas had complained to neighbors about hearing footsteps in the attic. When he investigated, he found nothing. Doors were left open that no one remembered opening. Footprints in the snow came from the forest, but none returned. And then, the family dog began barking viciously at nothing at all. The kind of barking that seems to echo down into the soul, like it knew something dark was creeping close. They all stayed inside that night. One by one, they were drawn outside, to the barn. What exactly happened between dusk and midnight on March 31st has never been truly understood. But what was found days later would haunt every investigator, every neighbor, and every curious soul who dared to look into the case. In the barn under a mound of hay, they were found. Andreas, his face nearly split in half. The old man who'd feared nothing now lay still, soaked in blood. His wife, Cecilia, was next to him, her head crushed in. Victoria, too, beaten so brutally that her skull was almost unrecognizable. But most horrifying was young Cecilia. She had tufts of her own hair clutched in her tiny fists, as if she had torn it out in agony before she died. Her eyes were frozen open. Inside the house, it was no better. Maria, the new maid, had been killed in her bed only hours after arriving. No time to settle in, no chance to escape. Baby Joseph was smothered in his cot, silent, lifeless, as if the killer didn't want any cries to echo through the halls. And what made it worse was what came next. Someone stayed. The animals were fed. The fireplace was warm. Meals were eaten. Whoever had murdered the family remained in the house for days, possibly sleeping among their victims, walking the halls at night, lighting lanterns, maybe even staring out the same windows the family once did. When the bodies were finally found, the scene was horrifying, but it was the unnatural calmness of the home that disturbed the investigators the most. Fresh food on plates, footprints showing someone had moved from room to room, nothing stolen, no signs of panic, just blood and death. The killer hadn't been in a hurry. They had taken their time. Over 100 suspects were interviewed. Dozens of theories were born. Some believed Victoria's late husband never died in the war and had returned for revenge. Others claimed Andreas had enemies from the past, and whispers spread of a forbidden relationship between Andreas and Victoria, father and daughter. The rumors were sickening, but they grew louder as investigators found evidence of long-standing abuse. Victoria had even tried to report her father to the authorities years before. Was the killer punishing them all? Years passed. The house was demolished, but no answers came. Some believed the murderer was someone close, someone who knew the family, maybe someone who hated them. But then there was the forest, the endless trees surrounding the home. A stranger could have come from there, lived in the attic, watched them, waited. The attic had signs: disturbed straw, cigarette butts, crumbs. Someone might have been living above them, listening, planning. To this day, not one soul knows who did it. Not a fingerprint, not a name, only shadows, rumors, and the memory of silence after screams. Some say if you walk near where the house once stood, you can still hear the creaking of wooden floors, the soft cry of a child, the heavy sound of boots pacing in an attic that no longer exists. Some say whoever did it was never human to begin with. They fed the animals, they cleaned the stables, they lived among the blood without flinching. Not a single neighbor heard a thing. No cry, no call, just silence. When Maria's sister came to visit days later, she was the one who alerted others. She knocked, she waited, no answer. The dog was tied up outside, whimpering, not barking, not moving. And inside, death waited. The axe used in the killings was found carefully placed back in the tool shed, cleaned, not hidden. It was as if the killer wanted them to know. People tried to forget, but the horror clung to the land like a curse. Every investigator, every journalist, whoever looked into the Hinterkaifeck murders, ended their research the same way: cold, unanswered, unsolved. There's something uniquely terrifying about a killer who doesn't want to be found. Someone who doesn't run, who stays, who takes your life and then your place, who feeds your animals, cooks your food, and pretends to be you long after you're gone. Who lives in your home like they belong there more than you ever did? In the end, Hinterkaifeck was more than a murder scene. It was a warning, a place where fear moved in and never left. And somewhere, even now, that axe waits. Thanks for watching this video. If you found this chilling tale as unsettling as I did, make sure to hit that like button. I'd love to know also your thoughts. What do you think happened at Hinterkaifeck? Who could have committed such a horrifying crime? Leave your theories in the comments below. I'm curious to hear what you think. If you want more terrifying true crime stories like this one, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an eerie tale. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.